Hello besties and welcome to another Genshin theory. This is going to be a super short video because I'm way too busy with real life to make a long one, but I think the theory is good enough to warrant such a short runtime. With the recent release of Sumeru, we got a lot of lore to unpack. As much as I'd like to get into the rest of the Archon quest and my predictions for it, that's not what we're here to do today. I honestly think my theories about it that I made months ago are still pretty good, so I don't feel the need to change them. So instead, let's talk about the Withering. I got the Withering completely wrong in another theory video. I don't know how I missed it, but this phenomenon has been observed in Sumeru for 1,000 years. I used to think it only started post-Cataclysm. The Withering was around when the past Dendro Archon Greater Lord Rukkhadevata was alive. However, I don't think this pokes any major holes in my other Sumeru theories. I think the Withering can still be easily explained if you think about where it comes from. Withering zones are areas of Sumeru's map where the Withering has overtaken the plant and wildlife. Clearing these zones and restoring their original ecosystems is a major part of exploration throughout the country. You have to clear them to get lots of Dendroculi and valuable chests. The final stage of clearing a Withering zone spawns one of two things, a Rift Hound or a Ruin Machine. Kill whatever enemy you are cursed with and then reap the rewards of your hard work. But think about what those enemies have in common. I think it was a deliberate choice to have Rift Hounds and Ruin Machines spawn in these areas. These are artificial life forms originally created in Khaenri'ah, either through chemia, alchemy, or robotics. I feel like I have a tendency to connect every little thing to Khaenri'ah, but I actually think the game is trying to tell us something here and I'm not just overanalyzing. You could argue that they wanted the zones to end with a tough enemy, but why these specific kinds? There are plenty of other strong open world enemies that they could have used. For some reason, the developers decided that Khaenri'ah enemies would be the only ones who show up when you need to clear a Withering zone. Maybe you still think that's coincidence, but I raise you the giant dead Ruin Machine in the middle of a valley. It's unfathomably large, and beneath it lies other Ruin Machines hidden underground. This isn't the only instance of something like that in Teyvat, although this is definitely the biggest scale. On Seirai Island, there's a cylindrical hole in the ground that houses countless Ruin Machines for seemingly no reason. On the Nameless Island in Mondstadt, there's clearly a hidden underground area, and the island has a few dead Ruin Guards sitting lifelessly on the beach. In the side of a Liyue mountain, we discovered a Ruin Guard factory in Child's Story quest, and in the southwest of Sumeru's rainforest, there's a huge underground area full of Ruin Guards. I went there for a world quest, and the first words Paimon said were, "Why are there so many Ruin Guards here?" It's undeniable that these areas were built by Khaenri'ahs. Thanks to Dainsleif's admittedly rare honesty and We Will Be Reunited, we know that Ruin Guards are not actually Ruin Guards. Their true name is Field Tillers, and they were designed to murder, fulfilling the Khaenri'ahn saying and value of tilling the land with blood. These underground areas that store Ruin Machines had to have been built by Khaenri'ahns. There's no other explanation for it. They all share an architectural style, they're all placed underground similarly, and up until recently, Khaenri'ahns were the only ones who knew how to make these machines. Some people think that these facilities were built by Fatui Harbingers Ildatore and Ilsandrone, but the Fatui was only founded post-Cataclysm. These ruins look far too run down for them to be that recent. Point is, Khaenri'ah had an underground presence in Sumeru as they did throughout Teyvat. I think the Withering zones are related to this underground presence. The problem with the Withering is that nobody can figure out why it's happening. It's just a weird thing that pops up sometimes, and that's all anybody knows about it. I think that's because there's no above-ground explanation for the Withering. The cause is underground. One of the first things we do in Sumeru is connect to Irminsul. Irminsul trees are typically found in underground areas of Teyvat, although there are some above ground in Dragonspine. These trees are highly important. They're implied to hold knowledge and memories of the world. When we connected to Irminsul in Sumeru, it looked like a tree underground. Not unexpected considering what we know about these trees. What was odd was the color of the sky. It was red. Red skies can only mean one thing, and it's the Cataclysm. In every glimpse of the war that we've seen, the sky is red. There was actually a dialogue option connecting the red sky and Khaenri'ah in the Sumeru Archon quests. This Irminsul tree is showing us a memory of Khaenri'ah and/or the Cataclysm. We also saw Dottore burn this tree down in the Winter Night's Lazo. Remember that little bit for later because now I need to get back to the Withering. I think this Irminsul tree is telling us everything we need to know about the Withering. It's caused by issues with underground Irminsul, or in more recognizable language, ley lines. I think Khaenri'ahns tampered with the ley lines, accidentally or not, and it caused all kinds of ley line disorders that we still see in action today. To me, the Withering is just one of many ley line disorders. As for why Khaenri'ahn enemies spawn from them, I think that's because Khaenri'ah was using these specific ley line disorders to their advantage. My latest theory on Khaenri'ah is that Khaenri'ah is in a separate but parallel dimension from Teyvat, and with Istaroth's help, they were able to see what life above ground was like, they became jealous, and planned to take over Teyvat for themselves. That's why Celestia shut down their plans so violently. If the Withering zones were caused by Khaenri'ahns on purpose, then they probably just stationed their weapons at them underground. Upon a zone coming close to being cleared, they rise to the Earth's surface and attempt to stop allogenes from undoing their work. If Conrians caused the Withering on accident, then they'd probably still station their weapons at the zones underground, but this time in defense instead of offense. They could have been worried that above ground people would notice the rift between the two dimensions and foil their planned takeover. I actually think we saw this hinted at all the way back in Enkanomiya. In one of the books found there's a story that feels really out of place when compared to everything else you find in Enkanomiya. It's about a royal gardener who fell in love with the tree spirit, but the king ordered the gardener to cut the tree down. The god of time Istaroth told the gardener to cut off one of the tree's branches and replant it to revive the tree spirit in 500 years. The gardener did as they were told, but the tree spirit came back to life immediately upon being replanted, not 500 years later. This is likely due to manipulation of the natural progression of time from Istaroth. The tree in the story had a soul and memories, much like the Ermin soul we learned about in Sumeru. But just like Tevat's real history, this tree got messed up and the world around it did too because of it. Dotore's motive to burn this tree down must have something to do with Khaenri'ah. If the tree really is connected to Khaenri'ah and/or the Cataclysm, and the Fatui was founded in response to that, then as a Fatui harbinger, Dotore has every reason to get rid of it. The Fatui was founded by the Tsaritsa following the destruction of Khaenri'ah because she was so appalled by Celestia's actions. Dotore may have been ordered to burn the tree down. I think that as Genshin progresses, we'll be seeing Khaenri'ah's influence more and more. It only grows with every new location, and Sumeru seems to be a hotspot. I hope that the desert offers just as much, if not more, Khaenri'ah lore. It's my favorite thing to work with here. Thank you so much for liking, commenting, and subscribing, and I'll see you next time. Bye, besties!